Hi all, it's Jan of the Jan Files. I hope that you will subscribe to my YouTube channel, and there's a very definitive purpose to that, and that ask. I want to be able to go live. In order to be able to go live, I have to have higher numbers, both the amount of followers, but also in the amount of screen time. So that's why I'm asking you to support me, because I really would like to be able to engage on a deeper level. So if you subscribe, you're helping that part out. Thank you. I thank you for your support. So let me go on to what I want to talk about today. First is some updates on the Iran war. And the next thing I want to talk about is toxic masculinity. So let's start with the updates on the Iran war. I don't know if everybody's clear that we were literally in the middle of negotiations with Iran in Oman when we bombed Iran. We were in the middle of talks. They had not ended. They had not fallen apart. Nothing. And we bombed them. So in other words, our word is meaningless. And the Iranians responded after somebody said, we should negotiate. And they were like, we were negotiating. And this is how this happened. One thing. The second thing is that strike on the girls' school that occurred in the first day was definitely us. It was definitely a Tomahawk missile. And it was also what they call a double tap. Now, first of all, I want you to understand that what they're trying to say is that they were operating from an old map. You know how old that map had to be? 10 years. A satellite map. 10 years. We didn't have an updated map because 10 years ago was when that school was put there. The towers around it that would have signified a military operation were taken down. The other parts of the complex where the school was deliberate. It was open to the street, so that parents could come and go. This was not a military installation. There was a military installation close by, but definitively not right next to the school. Now, if you had seen a map from 2010, then it would have all looked like a military place, but a military installation, but it wasn't. So the most sophisticated military in the world doesn't have up to fucking date maps? I don't believe it. I believe it was deliberate. And when I told you about that second tap was what that means is they bomb first and then they bomb again when they see the reaction. Well, the reaction was teachers running out of the school with kids that were still alive and trying to get them into another building. In the meantime, parents had been called and they were rushing to come and get their kids. When we saw that, bang, we hit with another bomb. You want to know why so many people hate Americans? It's this kind of behavior, this lying, this deliberate lying, the deliberate lack of humanity. So, two other things. Remember, I've said, if you saw my past two videos, I've said that they are not giving us the right numbers. When the first video, I said it was only, I think 6, not only, you can never say only 6 soldiers. It was 6 American lives lost. I said they're not telling us all that's happening. Yesterday, I said, okay, now they're telling us there's 140 wounded with 8 critical. Today, they released more information that first attack on Kuwait was deadly. Not only did 6 members lose their lives, many were injured, really severely injured. Now they're telling us, not when it happened over a week ago, but now. They're deliberately trying to string this out so, quote, it doesn't look so bad, right? If you had had all this information when it happened, everybody would have gone, holy shit. When you string it out, they're deliberately trying to distract you, and so you don't pay attention to the whole horror. And finally, the thing that I didn't realize prior to this, that Iran is 75 times the size of Israel. It has 90 million people. The idea that anyone with half a fucking brain would think that they are just going to lay down arms and that the Iranian people are just going to embrace the United States. You know, people don't have this idea of us being these heroes is really not existing anymore. Certainly since Trump came aboard, and certainly since we allowed Gaza to happen. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to another subject, toxic masculinity. And so you know how the Republicans always ask about what is a woman? I want to ask, what is a man? What is a real man? Because I don't think anyone who embraces the following things I'm going to talk to you about is a real man. So this is what some of the ways people describe toxic masculinity. Dominance, strength through control over others, not self-control. Aggression, violence or intimidation as a first response. Emotional suppression. Weakness is feeling things, especially empathy or doubt. Contempt for women, for gay people, for anyone perceived as soft. Zero-sum thinking. Someone else has to lose for you to win. And I think that is responsible for a good portion of where we are as a nation. I think that we have coddled men. I think that we have let them off the hook. I know that we have not prosecuted them as they should when they are violent. And we have many indications of, obviously, rapists getting off the hook when they're young because they don't want to ruin their lives. Now, I want to go to an example of what I consider I'm going to mix this up, toxic masculinity. So it's toxic masculinity. Last week, or the week and a half before, I don't know everything, I don't even know what day it is half the fucking time. So I just want to talk to you about, there was a story from Miami-Dade, Florida, of a group of Republicans. I don't know, they didn't say they were young Republicans, but it was the Miami-Dade County Republican Party. A guy from there, the secretary, created a Snapchat, and it was filled with disgusting, racist, misogynistic, anti-Semitic posts. Here. The N-word was used in some variation more than 400 times, and participants discussed dozens of ways to violently kill Black people. The chat also included anti-Semitic slurs, messages calling women whores, and slurs targeting gay people. Really, Republicans, how surprising. It's almost like a repeat of another young Republican group in New York who did the same thing. So they think it's funny to come up with ways to kill Black people or talk about women as whores. And I can only imagine what they said about rape. This is a big ass problem, and it is one of the reasons that Donald Trump was elected. because we have young men, old men, and the patriarchy literally trying to make their bones on the backs of other human beings. They think it's cool to be racist. They're like, fuck you, I don't care what you have to say. I'm going to say anything you want. And let me give you an example, because I was on Facebook yesterday or the day before, and I saw a horrible post about Muslims. I reported it. Facebook left it up. Facebook left it up. And I think that in one small example says it all. Facebook, which is Meta, which is Instagram, they promote this kind of crap. They don't have a problem with it. I have never seen so many racists, and not just the bots, but people, easily saying racist slurs or Islamophobic slurs or homophobic slurs. It is gross, it is disgusting, and it's pervasive, and it comes right from the fucking top, Donald Trump. As I always say, the fish rots from the head down. Well, this fish is a flounder, a fucking fat ass, flat flounder. Because this fish is not only rotting, it's infecting everything it touches. And it's also uncovering a lot of fear. And when people get afraid, when they feel like life is passing them by or they can't participate, whatever, they get angry. And men get toxic. They think negotiation is wussy. They don't like diplomacy. They want to go in and bomb, baby, bomb. Like ice, baby, right? We hear this all the fucking time. And it's awful. And you know what? It's everybody's fault, because kids don't just grow up with a father. They grow up with a mother. So it is both mom and dad's responsibility to raise good human beings. But if they're not good human beings, you can just fuck all with that, right? But the point is that this has been allowed. It's been allowed in our courts with young rapists who get off because the judges don't want to ruin this young boy's life. Fuck the woman who was raped. They only care about not ruining the boy's life. That these are mistakes that he can learn from and then go on and have a great life. And it's institutionalized. There's so much of what is happening that is baked into our system. And until we start calling it out every single fucking time, it's not going to change. And I know there are people like Scott Galloway out there talking about young men and what young men go through. I can appreciate that. But I can also appreciate that there is a lot of toxic masculinity that is literally in our schools. It's in our school boards. It's everywhere. And you know what? Women support this, especially white women, because we're the ones voting for these assholes. So I'm not saying I have any kind of answer. I don't have any answer other than always shine the light on it. Shine the light on this toxic masculinity, which has no use for women, has no use for kindness, has no use for gay people, has no use for black people on any fucking level. And although there are obviously black men who buy into this toxic masculinity, and you will see that a good portion of them are the ones that are supporting Trump and didn't vote for Kamala because she was a woman. We all share in this, folks. But I'm going to tell you right now, it is our responsibility to point it out every single time and change it. Do not allow your children to be bullied by boys. Do not let them be afraid of them. You've got to step in, because I've seen it in the school where I'm at. Do not do things. Let me say this. Your child has to learn how to stand up. And when that happens is up to the parent. But at some point, if they're being bullied, if they can't stand up, you need to come in and call this behavior out. And don't worry whether the bully's parents are bullies. This is all toxic masculinity. And it disgusts me. So I know what a good man is because I'm married to one. But I also can see, the masculine part of how the testosterone and how that makes men different. So I'm not saying there aren't differences between men and women. There are. But the reality is that doesn't mean it has to be toxic. Call it out. Shout it out. We have to change this along with so much else. Take care.